Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It was fun. I got a text from Brandon Sager, and he's like, hey, you've been asking for different people on the podcast, and I have got the man.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Brandon's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. I met him a few years ago, and we went to lunch, and it's been really cool to see what he's done with his sign company and kind of growing it. And just he's a go-getter.
He is. Yep.
And I appreciate, and I don't want to say envy, because I think I'm a go-getter as well, but it's really cool to see him work.
Yeah.
And he kind of said the same thing back to you. And Niall Fulmer said this will be the first podcast that he listens to.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and
that's awesome.
Niall's a go-getter, and he had nothing but great things to say about you.
Good people. It's funny you mentioned that. Brandon and I were trying to catch up, and we ended up on the phone at like 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's cool.
And that for me, that's awesome, because a lot of things to focus on, a lot of places you can put your attention. Yeah. And like when somebody's willing to be there early or late, you know they want it. Like you know the desire's there, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. That's really cool. Now, you say catch up with Brandon. Did you know him in the past?
No.
Or just trying to...
We were talking business.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So, I mean, I know him, but not from before, just through business now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now, do you have something to do with that business now? Or are you kind of helping him out? He's helping you out?
We're helping grow that business.
Cool.
Yep. It's exciting.
And that's, well, we'll get into that, because that's kind of a venture that you're taking on now. But I kind of like to start in the beginning and just get to know you as best as we can.
Absolutely.
Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I grew up right here in Rigby, Idaho.
I was Rigby as well.
Oh, there you go.
That's awesome.
In fact, I was telling somebody, I lived in Rexburg for a little while. I got home from my mission. My wife and I got married. We lived in Rexburg for a short minute, and then we moved back to Rigby. So I grew up in a house. When I was in high school, my parents built a house about 1.5 miles away. We moved and lived in between those. Then we bought our first house in between them. Then my parents decided to retire, and we bought their house.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've been like within 1.5 miles my entire life. Pretty boring.
That's how old are you?
45.
Okay. So a little bit older than me, but not much.
Yeah, I had Gavin Foster and Travis Foster. Those are my brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
Graduated from Rigby too.
Cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So Rigby, where'd you go on your mission?
Paraguay.
Oh, that's really cool.
South America. Yeah, it was awesome. Game changer.
Habla español.
Yeah, un poquito.
That's awesome.
Yep.
One of my instructors in the MTC went to Paraguay.
Oh.
And I just can't think of his name.
Yeah, probably because he probably would have come back and been there about that time. Yeah, phenomenal.
I'll try to figure that out. I'm sure it's
awesome.
in a journal or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's really cool. So you went on a mission, probably ate some good food while you were down there.
Yeah.
Met some amazing people.
Lost a bunch of weight. We walked everywhere we went. It was hot and humid.
Mine was the opposite.
Oh,
yeah.
Where did you go?
Mexico City.
Oh, really?
So tacos and coca de vidrio.
Yep.
Yeah. I came back probably 40 pounds heavier.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it was a lot. I came back. I had lost a bunch. We just walked everywhere, and it was hot and humid. And
that's cool.
A lot of work to be done.
Really jungly down there?
Yeah, it can be. There's a lot of it's really humid. A lot of forest type stuff. Yeah. Yep.
What about I'm totally into ancient ruins and ancient architecture.
Yeah.
Anything like that down there?
Not a lot in Paraguay. There's a lot around there, like Brazil and Argentina, Uruguay. They have the waterfalls, which is the Foz de Iguazu, they call it. It's one of the wonders of the world, where all three countries come together in this beautiful waterfalls. Is pretty cool. Yeah. But then they've got big. They call it the Chaca, but it's like big desert parts of Paraguay too, kind of desolation.
I'll have to look into that. That's awesome.
Yep.
So you get done off your mission. Have you been able to use Spanish in your work?
A little bit. I mean, my path led me to construction, so there's the opportunity there. Right now we have a guy working for us who speaks better Spanish than I do, so I let him do it, which is awesome. Couple opportunities though. Like I remember when I first got home, was going to school at BYU Idaho up here, and my wife got a job at Melaleuca, and then eventually she worked into the HR type of stuff, but the call center was hiring in Spanish, and so I went and did that, trying to keep the Spanish going. That was pretty good. Yeah.
Heck yeah, I love that. We're headed down to Mexico in February to do an orphanage mission.
Oh, that's awesome.
And bringing our kids.
Oh,
so we've
cool.
done it in the past to Haiti without our kids doing medical stuff. But, so they're all on Duolingo trying to figure out. And I said, you guys can watch a movie a day as long as it's in Spanish.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
that's so cool. That is cool. That's cool.
So what businesses? Like you've kind of done a lot in your short life, but what got you into business?
Yeah, I think I was, for whatever reason, I was entrepreneurial from the beginning. Kind of an entrepreneurial family.
I'm sorry. The screen went black, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Is it recording?
It's recording.
It's recording. Okay,
yes,
good.
We're good.
But kind of an entrepreneurial side of me, I guess. And HK Contractors was our family business. My uncle had actually ended up owning it and then passing it down to my dad and his son. And so that was kind of my path. I went to school, got a degree in business, but I'll never forget, a lot of my friends went and did summer sales.
Yeah.
And I never did. And the one thing I always say is I wish I would have done 1 year of summer sales, just to kind of get the feel for it. But I ended up having a bunch of friends that were doing summer sales. And so there's this personal improvement growth thought process that goes along with the good ones anyways, with the good summer sales, right? They're trying to develop people. And so me and some of my friends started reading the books. And I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the one that just fundamentally I thought to myself, this is different. This is not what I would go and learn in school. This is not what my traditional accountant would teach me or my banker would advise me on, but it resonated with me. And so from then I was like, it just resonated with me. I want to follow that. So I did follow the path with HK Contractors, but my dad and my cousin ended up selling that business, deciding to sell that business. And so I was like, what else is there out there? So I was always entrepreneurial. So we started a River City Custom Cycles, a bike shop. My dad dad started it. I tried to help. Yeah. But I was working construction out in the field and everything. So I tried to help and assist with that. And then after they sold the business, we were still looking for different things. I went back to Gonzaga, got my master's degree.
Oh, cool.
In organizational development and leadership, which I loved it. And then we were just looking for opportunities. So Mrs. Powell's. Mm-hmm. We ended up owning Mrs. Powell's, and then we partnered in the cocoa beans. Okay. And, had that opportunity with kind of smaller business again, kind of figuring out how to grow those. Yeah. Then we ended up taking a lot of those earnings from those side businesses and putting them into real estate. So we grew a real estate portfolio, managed those ourselves. Property management went along with that and just kind of the whole system. And then in 2019, I had an opportunity to leave what would have been HK and Oldcastle at the time and go and grow another construction business, which eventually turned into Avail Valley Construction. We grew that, and then I exited that at the beginning of this year. Yeah. And you don't know what you're going to do, so I thought, well, I'm going to help other people grow their businesses. Yeah. And that lasted a few months before I was jumping back in again. Okay.
So are you doing a little bit more again in construction? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So right after we figured out how to exit and separate from Avail Valley. Yeah. Because in transparency, it was a difficult partnership. Yeah. So we figured out how to work our way out of that. And then, so it was about March when that kind of all unwound. And so then Matkin Brothers Excavation, I had known them, worked with them. And so then we kind of came together and said, hey, let's form a partnership and let's go grow this business. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, so we decided to go and grow that business. That's been phenomenal. And then there's been other partnerships along the way that have opened up and offered an opportunity to kind of, in my mind, the only reason to create a partnership is because you have, first of all, you have like-minded people. Yeah. But they bring to the table different skill sets. Yeah. Or different value, right? So the big three are sometimes a partner can bring money. Sometimes a partner can bring, in my case, business knowledge and systems. Yeah. And then someone comes to operate the business. Yeah. You put those three things together, you can have a successful partnership. Yeah. Or you have somebody that may be the visionary type person, but somebody that's more the operator type person.
Sounds like you're talking EOS language.
Yeah. We operate EOS in some of our businesses. Some of them it doesn't quite fit as much, or we vary it, but the principles are all the same, right? Like there's the 4 disciplines of execution by Covey. There's the E-Myth by Gerber.
That was popping in my head too.
You can go down. There's How to Grow Your Small Business by Donald Miller. We could go on and on. 10X is easier than 2X.
Yeah. But fundamentally, they're the same. It's just different in the different organizational types of businesses.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So when I started helping people grow their business, like when I exit Avail Valley, and I'm just kind of acting as a coach to help people grow their business, it depends where they're at in their journey. They may need EOS. Yeah. They may need Dan Martell, how to buy back your time. Yeah. They may need the E-Myth. They may need Donald Miller, how to grow your small business. It just depends where they're at, right?
For sure.
But fundamentally, they're all the same. Yeah. They're all the same. They're just organized a little bit differently and maybe built in with more strengths or weaknesses for different stages of the business.
Yeah, and I like where you say where they're at, because it's interesting. I'll read a book. Like I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and at the time that was perfect for me.
For sure.
But then I read the E-Myth, and I'm like, man, it would sure be nice to be an owner instead of a technician. Yeah. But I just wasn't there yet. But it did plant the seed to go, oh, this is what has to happen. And then you also talk systems and business knowledge. Back when we first started business, I didn't realize systems were so important. Yeah. I was just the technician and the manager and the owner and everything. Yeah. But then as time goes on, if you want to grow, those systems have to be in place. And if they're not, it'll topple. It's no foundation on a business or no foundation on a pyramid. That pyramid's coming down.
It does. You know, it kind of reminds me, while we're talking about podcasts. So I don't know if you saw, but Ian Tongi was the guy that was on, what's the one where they go, they audition, they sing. America's Got Talent or one of those, whatever it is. But he's the guy that's from Hawaii or wherever. Yeah. And sang the song right after his dad passed away called Monsters. Well, it's on the Joe Rogan podcast, but him and Jelly Roll's on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they watch that. And I mean, it's just a tearjerker, you know.
Okay, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, you do. But anyways, the thing that resonated with me is like at the end, Jelly Roll's talking about it, and he says, music meets you where you are. Like so when I'm coaching businesses or partnering with business, whatever it looks like, it's like we have to meet somebody where they are. Yeah. And that's why there's not a one size fits all. Yeah. We have to figure out where they are and meet them where they are in their journey. So,
that makes sense.
But fundamentally and foundationally, they're all built on the same principles.
Yeah. How do you determine where people are?
The first thing that I like to do is understand what their goals and desires are. And that was hard for me sometimes because, like, I think I'm a pretty smart guy. Yeah. And I think if this is the goal and this is where we should get, like, everybody should understand that. And it's just obvious, right?
Yeah. You and I are the same there.
But then you have to realize, like, hey, what is the goal? What are we here for? And some people aren't. I had this conversation with somebody just the other day. Actually, yesterday it was at lunch. Somebody told me, they said, my goal is not to be $10 million a year in revenue. Yeah. That's not my goal. You know, oh, okay, what is your goal? And you know what? That's all right.
For sure.
That's all right. There's a lot of people that we like. So, for example, if I was going to help somebody grow their business or even partner with somebody, like the perfect partnership would be somebody like you talked about that is that technician that's at a ceiling. Yeah. And they don't have the systems to be able to go to that next step. They don't have the process or understanding of how to go to the next step. And it seems really simple when you've been there. But yet sometimes the technician stuff blows my mind. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you? So that's where the different skill sets could come together. And then it's like, okay, we add value to each other. And now all of a sudden we can go boom, 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 boom. But when you're talking to somebody and they say, no, this is my goal, you have to meet them where they are. Say, okay, how do we accomplish that? And like, this is the most challenging thing right now, right? We're all victims of saying, kids these days or the next generation. Yeah. Like that's our excuse for everything. Well, I can't grow my business because I can't find people who want to work. Yeah. I can't find whatever it is. And we say the next generation, kids these days don't want to work, everything. Well, kids these days and the next generation, it appears that they have different values than we had, but I don't think it's that they have different values. I think they express them differently.
Yeah.
So we have to understand how they express them or how they manifest them. And then we have to meet them where they are if we're going to find success.
Yeah.
So it does look different. At the end of the day, the same goals are on the table, right? Yeah. And so we figure out what's important to them, and then we figure out how to accomplish the same goals in their framework.
Yeah,
and then
I like that a lot. And this might be, I don't think it's off subject, but also if you're saying, I can't find the right people, you're not going to find the right people.
Oh, for sure.
My wife, she's been so good about, she meditates twice a day for 20 minutes. Like,
That's
she's
awesome.
a rock star. She's amazing.
Yeah.
But at the end, she kind of does these manifestations, like, goals, affirmations, that sort of thing. And she always says we have the right people in the right places. Those people have just showed up.
Yeah.
I started an asphalt maintenance company this year.
Yeah.
And the first couple months, man, I'm out there doing everything by myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to get somebody here.
Yeah.
So I just kind of started putting it out there. I need to find a good person, a technician that wants to become a manager. Like,
sure.
that's what because we want all of our people to grow.
Yeah.
There's not one person in this gym right now or in this building that I don't want to be successful in whatever they want to be successful.
Yeah.
So we're going to hire really good people. We're going to have to pay them well, and we're going to have to teach them what we can and know that they're probably going to leave for something better.
Yeah.
So I get a text one day from an ex-employee. Hey, just curious if I could get so-and-so's number. I'm looking for a job. I went, yeah, here's his number. Also, if you want a job, you can start at $25 an hour, and if you like it, you can run a crew next year.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For him, life-changing. For me, kind of life-changing.
For sure.
And all I did was go, I have the right people in the right places.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then it comes.
Yeah.
And yes, a very different generation. Like, I've called in sick to work before, not very much.
Yeah.
It was when I was physically sick. I've had younger kids call in and they're saying, my mental health's just not there today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't come in. What can I do for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've also heard people that are like, oh man, this younger generation, they're all on antidepressants and this and that. I'm like, oh, it sounds like they need loved.
Yeah.
For
sure. Absolutely.
That's what it needs.
Yeah.
We can teach. We can help. We can show the value of hard work. We can show the value of staying busy actually helps with your mental health.
Yeah.
So I really like your whole approach to all of this.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. Your wife. I actually have a somebody that's helping me, a coach, with breathing and meditation right now.
Oh, cool.
Because it's not me. Like, how somebody was like, because they know me and they're like, everybody that knows me knows that I'm pretty high strung.
Yeah.
People worry about me a lot. But anyways, so somebody's like, hey, you ought to try these float pools. You've heard of those, right?
Yeah, I've done them.
Oh, the most miserable time of my life.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And it should be so relaxing, and it's not, because you put me in a place where my mind can't go, and I'm just miserable, absolutely miserable. But I realized through doing that, like, something's broken here.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be able to disconnect. And so that's cool that your wife's found a way to get there. I'm trying to get there myself.
Yeah, and it's definitely a long process. I think there are some things that can be done that can speed it up, but the approach that she's taken to it, she knows that it's the long road.
Yeah.
And I can see it. Like, she's a different person, which actually, to be honest, sometimes for me is like, but you're not who you were.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with who you were.
Yeah.
Which, not that I don't love her now.
For sure.
It's not like that at all. But it's interesting because she's more of herself than she was before. She's more open. Yeah. I realize when we go to dinner, like, it used to be me. I would talk and friends would talk, but she would kind of stay silent. Yeah. She's definitely not that anymore. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
She's happier in her own skin. She's a great leader.
Yeah.
She wants to be a wise teacher. She is, even though she doesn't realize that she is. And it's just really cool. And all the stuff that's coming out, the float tanks, the hyperbaric chambers, even sauna therapy. Maybe this is a little out there, but they've got ketamine clinics now for people to go in and, you can kind of work through some stuff, do it legally, through a ketamine clinic.
Yeah, for sure.
But lots of different ways. Very different world, a lot of books that you and I read are kind of older, like the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles or Think and Grow Rich. These are very, very old books, different time, principles are the same, but we can build upon them.
Yeah, for sure. And most people read them at surface level.
Yeah.
And never understand what it really is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so think of Think and Grow Rich. Like, you can read that book over and over again until somebody really realizes like what the principle is underlying there to be able to attract that.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. Interesting stuff.
Well, and I guess, I mean, you say that and I'm like, oh, well, what's the principle?
Yeah. We attract it, right?
We attract it.
It's a subconscious. It's programming. It's the meditate. Like, and that stuff is fluffy voodoo stuff to some people because they're like, you know what I mean? And plus, you don't do it like, so for example, I just got done reading a little bit about the difference between like affirmation versus visualizing the process.
Okay.
And actually the affirmation is good. That's a first step. But then it's when we actually simulate the process in our minds. That's actually what attracts it, right?
Yeah.
And so, because some people get confused. They're like, oh, you read, oh, I'm just going to sit around and say it into the world and it comes. And actually, as weird as it sounds, sometimes the answer is yes. Like, we're getting ready to grow construction company. Mm-hmm. Have an estimator, project manager who's helping us with sales. Need to bring the right person onto our team. Wasn't quite ready to bring that person onto our team from a cost structure.
Yeah.
So we knew we needed to add like, and I can't remember what the number was. I think it was $2 million. So estimator, project manager, like, hey, if we bring this person on, everybody knew it was the right fit for our team. If we bring them on, we have to add $2 million in sales.
Yeah.
Everyone looks at the sales guy. Can you do that? I said, by the way, in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and said, no, that's, you know, what we're going to do. Okay. And then pretty soon, like halfway through that week, just got a contract for $500,000.
Heck yeah.
By that weekend, you're at 1.1. You know what I mean? Yep. And then you're there. So a lot of it is you just have to, yes, put it out into the world. But then we take that next step. So then we actually, in our minds, not just affirm it or not just say it, but then we actually make the path and then we see it in our minds.
Yeah.
Now we're getting even one step closer.
I wonder if your construction background also helps you in that.
Oh, for sure.
Because you look at a piece of dirt and you go, that's going to have a big, beautiful building on it. Yeah. And then you work through those processes and then you know what the end result is. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I never take anything away from people who are in a job because obviously there are many people that are happy in a job, many people that are not happy in a job. But many times in a job, you're just going through the motions. You're not creating.
For sure.
And so I think that's the only thing that can really hold people back in a job. Like, it's good to make money. You can be passionate about it, but find something where you can create. Yeah. And when you're a business owner, you have to create.
You have to.
And you can just see a much different picture.
Yeah. And construction, to your point, like you never just talk about the project and it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
You have budgets.
Yeah.
You have schedules. You have all the stuff, right? And then eventually exactly what you saw is right there.
Yeah.
But you had to put between thought and execution all the stuff in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So when did you kind of shift from wanting to start and grow businesses and partner with people to, hey, I want to coach people? I guess it's kind of the same thing, partnering with people, but when did you go, hey, I want to start a coaching company?
Yeah, so actually when the exit happened with Avail Valley, then that was the opportunity because I was kind of like, what am I going to do? What's the next step? And I have two amazing friends who are in coaching, consulting themselves.
Yeah.
And I sat down with them and said, man, I've always liked helping people. But so let me go back just a little bit too. My cousin, my dad sell HK contractors to Oldcastle, big publicly traded conglomerate, right? Yeah.
Is that anything to do with CRH?
CRH,
okay.
Yep. CRH is the mother company over in Ireland. Oldcastle used to be the company here in the United States. So yeah, same thing. And so like that's great. Now it's a big business. You're just a number, like all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing is very, very quickly, they partnered with McKinsey & Company, big-time consultants. And then they got some of us from the industry. And I'd say there was about 20 of us, maybe a little bit less. But we worked with McKinsey, and we created what they called the Oldcastle Performance System. And so what that was a system that we then could take to all, at the time there were 63 HKs throughout the United States. And we could take that to all 63 HKs and give them an operating system for their business. We could give them a blueprint. We would spend about 3 to 4 months with them. We would get in the middle of their business, look at it, dissect it, find room for opportunity, build it back up, put the operating system in, and then we just monitor it over time and help and support them. I did that, and I loved it. And then right at that same time when I was finishing that up, or while I was doing that, I went back to, that's when I went to Gonzaga, did an online and in-person program, and got my degree in organizational development, my master's degree. So you put all that together, and I realized this is fun. I loved going and working with those companies and putting together, like, to a certain extent, you're answering the question because maybe you've been there before or seen it before, but like everybody's looking for, a lot of times we're in business and we have a good idea, we know how to do it, but we don't know the levers to pull to actually get an output.
Yeah.
And so when you can show up with the tools, the process, everything, and say, this is what we do in business, and I call them laws, like when we do this, this happens. Yeah. Right? They're like, oh, yes, when we do this, this happens. And so then it starts to open so many eyes, right, and the opportunities there. So when I exit Avail Valley, there was a period of time before that all came to fruition where I didn't know what I could do, or, you know, if I'd be able to jump back into the construction game or not. Yeah. And so these two friends of mine helped me, said, we coach businesses, we love it. I said, oh, okay, how much do you charge? And they said this much, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money too. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I could take care of my family, so let's go do that. Yeah. And so started there. And then once everything finalized with Avail Valley, then it was, okay, now I'm free to look for partnership opportunities.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Downstairs, you had said that you had some lessons learned with Avail Valley. What are some of those lessons?
Yeah. So, I mean, at first blush, to have a partnership that didn't work out the way you envisioned, there's trust issues there. Yeah. Right? My first instinct was to pull back, and I had a really hard time trusting anybody. In fact, while a lot of this was going on, I coach all my kids in their sports. So while a lot of this was going on, I was coaching my 14-year-old son in basketball and football. And he would hear a lot of conversations when he's in the truck and we're going back and forth, a lot of my thoughts. And you would ask him, if you asked him right now, hey, what's rule number 1 in business? He would probably still say, never have a partner. Because that was my thought process at that time because of all the pain that I'm going through and how I had been hurt and everything had been taken away from me, right? But then I thought this one day. I've never been through a divorce, but I feel like that's about as close to a divorce as you can get when you go through a failed partnership. If I did go through a divorce, I couldn't say to myself, I'll never love again. Yeah. That's a bad world. That's a horrible world to say, I've been hurt, this hurts, so I'll never love again. You're actually limiting yourself. Yeah. Right? And so why am I going to punish myself because of what somebody else did to me? That doesn't make sense. So I said, just like in a divorce, I do have to love again. I have to figure out the structure that can be healthy, and it may be different, but I do have to figure out how to trust again, right? Yeah. And so I had an opportunity to come up with Mack and Brothers Excavation, and it was, hey, would you partner with us? You know, and so the conversations start to happen, and you start to realize that, just like in a divorce, that not everybody's out there trying to hurt me. Yeah. Right? And so you have to trust again. And then you do whatever it takes for both sides of the coin to feel comfortable. Right? And so sometimes that's more paperwork and more operating agreements and sometimes it's less. And the weird thing is sometimes you still have to go off of like what's inside you still talks to you. Yeah. And so as much as you're afraid to get hurt again, you also have to trust that what's inside you is telling you, hey, this is okay, that it's okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And on the other side of every experience is a growth opportunity. So this was game changer for me. I could tell this was all, I vividly remember it, but the 26th of December, I knew this was failing and raveling, this partnership was. We always like to go up to our cabin for Christmas and New Year's up in Island Park. So I'm up there. And weirdly enough, I read so many books, but somebody had told me about a book called The Alchemist.
Oh, yeah.
I had never read it.
Pablo Coelho?
Yeah, I had never read it.
Yeah.
All the years, all the books, all the library, like I never read it. So the 26th of December, I realized this is going to fail.
Yeah.
And I happened to be recommended this book, and I read this book. And it was and I have recommended this book to many others since then because it changed my life.
Yeah.
And I had somebody the other day give it back to me. Like, dude, I tried, but I can't get through like chapter 2. And I'm like, okay.
Yep. Give it 2 years and read it again.
Exactly. Or give it the backside of a failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give it the backside of a disappointment. Like I was at the bottom of the bottom and had to figure out what am I going to do to dust myself off, right? And so somebody had recommended that book. I read it, and I realized that everything is preparatory. Everything. So I look back now where I'm at today, and I look back and I can pinpoint that had to happen to be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
No matter how much it hurt in the moment, if it wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I was today. And not only that, but everything, every muscle I built, every discipline I built, everything I did during that process that I thought was for one outcome wasn't even for that outcome.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden this path is there in front of me and I'm being shown, no, that stuff you built was for this outcome over here.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Right?
If you have the understanding and the openness for it. Because I think people are given opportunities all the time, including myself.
Absolutely.
And I may not even see them.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I'm just not ready for it, or I don't have that mindset of, hey, that's an opportunity that I need to jump on.
For sure. Well, now we go back to the affirmations, right? So you have the favorite car that you've always wanted that's a certain color and a certain brand and make and model, and you finally buy it. And then you're driving through town and you see all of them everywhere around town. It's only that you're more aware.
Yeah.
So like that's why affirmations are so powerful. It's not that it brought it into our, like that's where people get confused. Like, oh, I speak it and it comes. No, you don't speak it and it comes. But you were about to walk right past that opportunity and not realize it was there. Because with the affirmation, all you're doing is open up your mind and making yourself aware of the stuff that's right around you.
Yeah.
It's there. But you were going to walk right past it and not realize it. But because you started affirmations, whatever mental process you go through, you were ready.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's also important what you said about visualizing the process. Because I could say, I have a net worth of $60 million and I earn $60,000 a month in passive income.
Yeah.
Those are words. And that may be preparing you. But then you go, okay, what does 60 million look like? What kind of real estate do we have to have? What kind of cryptocurrency holdings? What kind of, okay, now 60,000 a month in passive income, we've got to have 97 apartment doors that are bringing in $950 net profit. Start to work through that and you go, oh, that feels uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I need to think about that more. Oh, I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with it. Now there's the opportunity. Now I can hit it.
Yep. And then you bring that back to the next step, which always has to be that first one. So this is this much holdings in these places and this many real estate holdings and this many doors, but what does it take to get one door?
Yeah.
And then go get that door.
Yeah.
Right? So if you read The One Thing by Gary Keller, he talks about the domino effect. And I butcher this every time. But a domino has enough power. If you can tip a domino over, it knocks something over 1.5 times its size.
Okay.
Well, by the time you knock that one domino over and you get to like domino number 8, it's the size of a normal sized person. But when you get to number 31, it's the size of Mount Everest. And number 58 is the distance to the moon.
Interesting.
But it all started with that one little domino, right? So like what you're explaining is, how do I get to the moon?
Yeah.
And it feels uncomfortable. Like I could never get to the moon. How do I do that? Well, you bring it all the way back, but you get that one domino. Can I knock that domino over? Yes, I can. And then it will knock others over, and then we get there, right?
Yeah, I really like that. You said you're a little high strung.
Yeah.
How do you sleep?
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Very much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to sleep more. I started trying to improve my health overall. I started with a doctor that's kind of just all natural,
cool.
Which is awesome. And the one thing him and I are still working on is sleep.
Yeah.
I don't sleep a whole lot.
Can't shut your brain down?
It's not even that, because my wife will tell you once I decide to sleep, I can fall asleep. Like if I lay down, I can fall asleep. It bugs her. If I do go to, like when I go to bed, I'm done.
Okay.
And I try to go to bed with her. That's important, but I just get up early because I'm not missing a lot of things in the mornings because everybody's sleeping, right?
Yeah.
And so the crazy thing about it is when you love what you do so much, you're just excited for it. I don't know. I know people need sleep. I know I need sleep, but when you just get excited, like I sometimes just want to get up, and go back to it because there's that exciting thing we're going to accomplish today, or that new deal, or that new to help somebody and watch somebody grow. Like it's out there.
Yeah.
So
I think sleep is, I know sleep is definitely important, but do you decompress in other ways? Like what do you do for fun?
Yeah. So that's why I have a coach helping me with meditation.
Cool.
Because I know I need to. Does that make sense? I know I need to be able to disconnect because then it comes back to more of a focus and a clarity. Because when you can unwind, you can't focus and you can't get clear. And we do need those things, right? Yeah. But for me, this is going to sound wild and crazy, but for me, I've always coached all my kids in whatever sport it is they want to play.
Yeah.
And for me, that's my time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because you're there, you're present, present for yourself, but you're also present for your kids. You're kind of knocking out like 5 birds with one stone. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I love the youth. We do some events with Coach Gonzalez, who's the Rigby football coach, and we take his program, what he's built, and we turn it into business principles, which is awesome. But we took our little 8th grade team this last year and actually sat down with the captains and created core values and mission and vision and like all those things with the team to make it more than just about football, for example. And so then that's a 6th win on top of that too, because you're just creating hopefully young men, right?
Yeah, and it's so cool too, because I'm sure you've heard the phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything. Like that's T. Harv Eker. Yeah. I don't know if he was the first one, but I remember hearing him on stage, like how you do anything is how you do everything. And what you're doing is taking these football kids and you're using something they're passionate about to help them become better in life. Those principles are going to stick a lot longer than, hey, you need to run more drills.
Yeah, for sure. So I did an event last week and I showed our mission and vision statement for our family that hangs on our wall in our house. Like it's building successful organizations, and our family's the most important unit that we could, right? Yeah. And so it's the same thing. Like once again, principles work, right? So we can build a successful family the same way we could build a successful sports team, church group, business, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Man, that's really cool. I like that. It's so cool, all of the directions that people can go. Have you ever heard of Willie Twitchell?
Huh.
So he's here in Rexburg.
Okay.
My wife and I went to a leadership course that he did a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And it's a business leadership course, but it's with horses.
Oh.
So he's like a horse whisperer.
Yeah.
This guy he's insane. But he'll bring you out, he'll show you how to train a horse, and then uses those principles to say, here's how you train a person.
Oh, wow.
They have to feel safe, and they have to feel, I'm going to butcher this too. They have to feel safe first, and then they have to feel like they're accomplishing something. And that's his thing with people. They have to feel safe, and then they have to feel accomplished. Yeah. So he'd do something with a horse. He'd have him jump over a barrel. And then at the very end, he gets on this horse and he goes, I just want you guys to know how important our energy is. So this is not a gimmick. I'm not going to kick the horse. I'm not going to, say go. I'm not going to do anything. Yeah. I don't want you to watch my body language. I'm not doing anything. But the horse is now going to walk, and the horse starts walking. He goes, now I'm going to raise my energy up a little, so all I'm going to do is puff my chest out, and he's going to gallop. The horse starts to gallop. And then he starts to run. And then he goes, now if I want the horse to calm down and stop, I just need to relax. He relaxes his body. The horse comes to a dead stop.
Wow.
And it was really cool because he brought us in, and we'd talk about these principles and then go out to the horse and work on that. And so I don't know, talking with you is fun because business, it goes everywhere, but it's not like I said downstairs, movies were like, it's just business, man. Yeah. Well, that makes business people seem like a-holes.
Yeah.
And the truth is, everybody can win in business.
For sure.
Free market capitalism at its best is amazing.
Yeah.
We can all rise up.
Yep.
So cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we do that, we also find a way for the operators of our businesses to gain equity in the business if it's important for them.
Yep.
I have some that are like, that's not important for me. I don't care. Well, that's fine too. But for some of them, it is. And we have to want to let them win. Now, the crazy thing is, the more we help people get what they want, the more we have what we want.
Yeah.
Right? But it can't be for that purpose.
Yep.
It's not like, oh, I'm going to help them to help me. No. It's like any kind of charitable act. I believe that for every charitable act, there will be something reciprocity that comes back to you, but not if it's not for the right reasons.
For sure.
But once we're able to say, this is about helping others succeed, that's the day we don't have to worry about ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, not to bring like churchy principles into it, but you hear so many stories of tithing where someone's like, I couldn't afford to pay my tithing, but as soon as I did, I've never worried about money since, or money's never been as tight as it was, or I always know that I can pay my bills. And it's crazy too, because that is an eternal principle. But even taking eternity out of it, it's some of the very first Sumerian texts that we find talk about tithing. Yeah. And it's giving 10%, and that's the crazy thing too. 10% is the number. Yeah. Like even in ancient texts, 10% to the place where you get your spiritual enlightenment. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, that's so cool, because that's a principle in business. I think businesses should focus on, hey, some of our proceeds, they go to charitable donations or helping, Yeah.
So here's one for you too. If you really want to put it to the test, so all of a sudden one year I'm putting my goals together, I'm putting my affirmations together, I'm putting it all out there. And of course you always have I want to make this much this year, I want to do, right? And I was thinking about it and I said, no, I want to give this much this year, right? And so when that becomes about the goal, it's crazy how everything else just aligns.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you're not worrying so much about how you're going to bring all these things in. You're worrying about how you're going to give, and then everything starts to come in to match that, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. Yeah, it's such a great way to take the focus off of ourselves too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes we can focus so much on the goal that we hold it away.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to put it out there, work towards it, and then be open with other outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are your goals? Next 10 years, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, so that's I'll give you the easy answer, right? Help as many people as I can, as we can. Yeah. So I continue to build my team, and because I think it once again has to go beyond just what we can do ourselves. I was at a training thing this morning where somebody said they've exited their business and they're kind of out and retired, and said, I don't miss the grind of the business, but I miss the people. Yeah. I miss the teams, right? So for me, it's all about building that team. So like Prevail Legacy Builders is our consulting company. And right now the goal is to build that out so we can support as many businesses as we possibly could. Yeah. And that may be in like a coaching setting, or it may be in a partnership setting, or whatever that leads to, right? But how can we support as many as possible? Yeah.
So what mainly is Prevail Legacy Builders? What do you guys do? Yeah.
So it started once again with the coaching, and then it's went into partnerships. But what happens is, so like if you ever read the book by Donald Miller, How to Grow Your Small Business, he talks about growing your small business being like an airplane. So on this airplane, first of all, you have the cabin, you have the cockpit. And that's like our leadership. Mm-hmm. That's where we communicate. That's where we set goals, our coordinates. That's where we use all the gadgets and to read where we're at and correct our path. That's our leadership, right? And then we go to our product. So the product is like the wings. And if the product's good, then the wings are stable. And then we have sales and marketing in the engines, the right and the left engine. So that's how we add thrust to it, right? So as we add thrust, if we have a good product, now we'll get off the ground. Then the body of the airplane is like our operations. and our overhead. That's where most of the costs sit. That's the biggest part of the business. That's what we have to manage. Yeah. And then our financial systems is like our fuel tanks.
Okay.
Because if we don't have cash, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So we're building a business, Prevail Legacy Builders, where we can support each part of that. So we're building out all 6 components of that, where we have a part of our business that we could plug into any business. Hey, it's marketing. Oh, let's plug in and help you with your marketing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sales. Let's plug in and help you build a sales process. Oh, you're having problems with cash flow. Let's plug in and financially get you to where you are.
Yeah.
And so we just keep building out the team with all of those pieces so that we could plug into any of our own businesses or other businesses and help them to whatever ceiling or hurdle that is for them to get past.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. I'm really excited for you today.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and all the people that you can help in that.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah. Well, I hope you can start sleeping.
Yeah.
And I really like what you said about coaching your kids. I think that's very important, and really for people to just find something that does help them decompress and be present.
Yeah.
Like meditation, that can help people to be present, but like you're almost supercharging it by coaching your kids. That really makes you in the moment, present. So congrats on that. That's really, really cool that you have that. And I really appreciate your time coming in today.
For sure.
Where can people find more about you?
Yeah, prevaillegacy.com.
Prevail
on
Legacy.
there. Yeah, there's some tools on there. You can click on a business assessment. It gives you a free business assessment. So you can take a little assessment. It will give you actually a PDF printout of the 6 components I talked about with the airplane. There's also a contact me. Like it will just link to my calendar.
Yep.
So if anybody just wants to schedule 30 minutes with me to just talk about their business or their challenges or whatever it is, it's available there too.
Okay. Any social media?
Oh, I'm not on social media because I don't like social media. I probably shouldn't say that out loud.
No, you're good.
But
I don't blame you.
But I love these kind of situations, and my assistant
Yeah.
does such a good job at taking those things and sharing them on social media. Yeah. So we're on the social medias.
If they just look up Prevail Legacy Builders.
Yeah,
should be able to
LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, I think are the main ones. And we're on there with Prevail Legacy Builders once again. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I urge anyone to go to it. And I guess, I don't know why this one just popped in my head, but I hear a lot of people are like, man, I want to start a business.
Uh-huh.
I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
But what's just one simple piece of advice that you could give to someone who thinks in their mind, I want to start a business?
Yeah. So the first question I would ask is why do you want to start a business, right? And then once we start to get more familiar with why, then we understand the pieces that need to be added. If somebody says, I want to start a business because they have a passion for something, that's great. But now you need to go find a way to marry the systems so that you'll succeed. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You could partner with somebody. You could read some books, get educated that way. You could also find a franchise. A franchise is a great way to give you a system, right? If you're not that you're just saying, no, I love business and I like the systems and everything, then maybe you need to figure out what that passion is for you. But here's the problem, and this is the first thing that I would say to somebody. If you don't do it right, you'll end up hating your passion.
Yeah.
And that's the worst part.
Yeah.
So we have to build a business. Now, here's the question I would ask. And once somebody answers this question, because in the beginning, they'll always answer it the right way. And then later on, they'll get confused. I would ask, do you want to own a business or do you want to be self-employed?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say, I want to be self-employed, because nobody wants to own their job.
Yeah.
Because you work twice as hard and make half as much. That's just the way that it works, right?
For sure.
So I want to own a business. Good. If you want to go own a business, let's build a business.
Yeah.
Right? Because what happens is they say, I want to own a business. They don't know how to do it, and they find themselves self-employed.
Yeah.
And they're miserable. Yeah. And they hate it, and they get burned out. Right? And so in the infancy, you have the chance to ask yourself that question. Good, you have a passion. Good, you have an idea. Great. But do you want to build a business or do you want to be self-employed? I want to build a business. Everyone's going to say, great. Now let's work on building a business.
Yeah. No, I love it. I know that was kind of a loaded question because there's so much. Like now it goes into the infinities of business.
Yeah.
But that everything you just said right there reminds me of the E-Myth as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
She loved to bake pies until she had to.
Yep, exactly.
It's really cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Garrett.
Yeah.
I'll get this all edited up, and I'll hurry and tell you a few things after we are done that how we can cut it and everything. It's kind of fun. And if you ever want to use a podcast studio or do anything, you're always welcome.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's awesome. Thanks for having me. It's super good.
The music in the background, it's like all cut out in here somehow.
No, that's good.
So people are listening to music and lifting weights out there. But I appreciate it, and we should do this again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.